Would you like to bet $20 and win $100 at BetMGM regardless of your wager's outcome and get $100 in free wager bucks? Just go to wt.buzz/MGM for more details and find out if you're eligible for this amazing offer.
Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. It is September 8th. It's a Wednesday. I'm Lawrence Presman. This is Teddy Covers. And Teddy, today's show, Steve Merril. He hosted for me yesterday, and now he's guesting for himself. He's looking at the Phillies-Brewers game, Georgia Southern at Florida Atlantic, and the Bears and Rams. And then Adam Trigger joining us, Michigan and Washington, and then the Chargers and Washington. So it's a Washington kind of a day. How are you, bro? You're winning still? How was $2 Tuesday? What's going on with you?
So I lost my only MLB play yesterday, a disappointment and frustrating too, because I was looking at the Yankees as to fade the Yankees. I wouldn't fade Cole, and then I ended up using the wrong play. So I lost yesterday in MLB. It's still been a real good run. Over the last few weeks, better than 60%, I think 61% across sports the last couple of weeks. So it's still pretty good over here. And what was the other question, Prez? You asked me like 8 questions in a row. I don't remember.
Well, your $2 Tuesday, was that your baseball play?
No. $2 Tuesday was a 5% big ticket play that will for this weekend in college football. So we won't know how it worked out until Saturday.
Excellent. I tell you, if I could just get rid of that stupid 0-3 Saturday I had, man, I came back. I won Monday with baseball. I won Tuesday with baseball. Man, my baseball, Teddy, just been absolutely ridiculous. If only I could go back and get rid of that freaking month of April. It's just that month of April. Other than that month of April, I mean, I'm like in the low 60% in baseball. I just keep on winning. But alas, we can't. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say congrats on the great run. But the truth of it is you can't go back and eliminate April. The way you go back and eliminate April is you win in May and you win in June and you win in July, which is what you've done. So I give you all the credit in the world, Prez, for an outstanding baseball season. But I know our audience doesn't want to talk baseball today. I know they don't. It is football season. Let's get into it.
Okay, brother. Well, you want to go through what you learned last night in the wonderful world of sports?
So I've been reading commentary about, I'm really fascinated by, we'll call it mainstream commentary in the betting markets, talking about what bettors are doing. So this is, and I don't mean to criticize David Payne Purdom from ESPN. This is what he wrote in this article that I read yesterday on the Washington football team. This is from John Murray, the Super Bowl. Quote, "The Washington football team is very popular. We have a big liability on Washington for the Super Bowl, the NFC, and the NFC East. Liability on Washington at the Superbook. On the Cleveland Browns." This is from Chris Bennett over at Circa. "The real public team is the Browns. The public loves the Browns. The Patriots," John Murray from the Superbook. "I've been surprised by how many people are in a rush to back the Patriots this year. They're our biggest liability in the Super Bowl futures book." On the Raiders, this is from the Circa again. "We have seen Raiders money in their season wins, their Super Bowl odds to win the division, some money on Derek Carr to win MVP. We've seen almost every which way. They're not betting Gruden for Coach of the Year. We've got what I consider to be a pretty significant action on the Raiders." On the Giants, this is from Borgata. Quote, "More bets have been placed on the New York Giants to win the Super Bowl than have been placed on any other team at the Borgata in Atlantic City. By a big margin, too, 2-1. The money on the Giants this year has been atypical. The amount of wagers on the Giants to win the Super Bowl we've taken is obscene." On the Vikings, Circa Sports again. "We have pretty big liability on the Vikings for the Super Bowl right now. The team we have the most liability on the Super Bowl futures market may be a little surprising. That's the Vikings." This is from the Borgata again. "They have the most liability for us in both the NFC and the Super Bowl." On the Bears, here's PointsBet. That's their worst case scenario in its Super Bowl futures market. And you can go on and on through all of these teams from different sports books. What did we learn? Something that the sportsbook consigliere said yesterday, Dave Sherapin. Nobody knows squadouche, okay? This book's got liability here. That book's got liability there. when you're talking about the broader markets. And that's what we try to do on this show. Not talk about any individual book, but talk about the broader betting marketplace. The information you're finding from mainstream sources, to me, seems to be lacking. What about you, Mr. Prez? What'd you learn last night?
Well, Teddy, I have been, and I know you don't want to talk about it or hear about it, so I'll be real brief, but I am just completely enthralled with the U.S. Open tennis. I've watched countless hours. I mean, out of the blue, Canada is just killing it. We've got 2 Canadians in the semifinals, one in the men's, one in women's, and that's all I've pretty much been doing. That and studying the NFL Week 1, and I will be doing the NFL Presidential Address today, so you guys will get that up on YouTube. You'll see it later tonight. Man, I've just been like completely embedded in NFL. But that's what we're supposed to be doing right now, Teddy. Obviously college football and NFL. But I am so pumped about this week's NFL. It's finally beginning. I can't wait. So other than that, by the way, we had 2 thumbs down before the show even begun. We're now at 4. I'd like to, honestly, and I say this sincerely, Teddy, I'd like to thank our competitors for caring so much about how great our show is that they put an alarm on to come in and hit thumbs down before the show begins. So, guys, I mean, I take that as a compliment. So does Teddy. Thank you for that. The rest of you guys, let's get those likes up, please. Teddy, let's bring Steve Merril in. Steve, first and foremost, thanks for hosting yesterday. Secondly, you're going to be handling the show Monday and Tuesday next week. I don't need you for Wednesday, but Monday and Tuesday, right?
Sounds good, my man. I'll be good to go.
Okay, terrific. How you doing? Nice start in college football, right?
Yeah, Teddy and I talked about it yesterday, a 4-2, 67% start. And as I told him yesterday, mostly big favorites for me. In fact, 3-4 touchdown favorites. I like to find those early blowout games. Week 2 will be a little bit different here, but I already see some games on the horizon. So, yeah, great start to college football and still number 1 in MLB totals this year at WagerTalk.com. So it's a great time to get a very special offer I have the rest of 2021 for just $4.99. That's over a $6.99 discount, $4.99 for the rest of the year, all sports. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Excellent stuff. Steve, let's get into baseball. Philadelphia versus the Brewers. The Brewers minus 155, 8 on tap. Offhand, I think the Brewers won their first game against Philly last night, a 10-0 victory. How do we bet today's game?
Yeah, it's an interesting series to talk about. As you said, they won 10-0 last night. That, of course, is after losing 12-0 on Labor Day Monday afternoon. So the 2 teams have won 12-0 and 10-0 each in this series so far. Actually used a free play on the MLB First Pitch show and also posted it on my page at WagerTalk.com. My official free play for last night was the over in that game. Didn't quite play out like I thought, though, but we still got there with that 10-0 going over the 8.5. But part of the reason I like the over is I did think the Brewers would bounce back after being shut out. They had Brandon Woodruff on the mound on Monday afternoon, one of their aces, one of their 2 aces. And a lot of times the offenses don't show up, and that's what happened. They had only 6 hits, no runs, but they had scored 14 runs on 30 hits in the 3 prior games. So I did think the Brewers would wake up and bounce back. I didn't necessarily think they're going to put up 10, but I thought Philly would do more than get shut out. In fact, Philly, entering last night, had won 8 out of 10. And more importantly, they had scored 7 runs or more in 8 of their previous 11 games. They'd basically almost gone over this total on their own. Not how it played out. It still got there last night, but I'm looking at the over 8 here. This line is even lower today. Once again, each team has put up 12 and 10. I know they've gotten shut out on each side of that, but both offenses in pretty good current form. And I think 8 is a pretty low number for that reason. Once again, until last night, the Phillies have been about the hottest team in the baseball in offense. 7 or more runs at 8 of their 11 prior until last night. I look for a bounce back from Philly. I look for Milwaukee to get some runs tonight as well.
So, Peralta's been good all year. And while Kyle Gibson's coming off a really rough showing against Miami last time out, he's been pretty darn good this season as well. And Gibson in particular has been really good at bouncing back off a shoddy showing like he had last time. Is this one of these situations where if you're going to play the over, you're looking at full game because you want to take advantage of the bullpens? Or is this a situation where the first 5 is just fine? These are 2 starting pitchers that you don't trust either.
I definitely like the full game over, Teddy. And you're right, Gibson is in a bounce back spot. He had a terrible start, in fact, last week. Gave up 8 runs in just 5 innings against the mighty Marlins. Joe Ranieri's Miami Marlins. He'd been really strong before that. He'd given up just 1 run in 14 innings. So I'm a little concerned he might bounce back here, but I'm glad you brought up Peralta. You know, as you guys know, the Brewers are a play I've given out on this show and other shows this year is my long shot World Series. They were 13-1 earlier in the season when I did so. And one of the reasons I really liked him is because of that Burns-Woodruff 1-2 punch in any 7-game series. But Peralta's a really strong 3-man. He got injured a few weeks ago. He hasn't quite been the same, though. You know, he missed a couple weeks at the end of August. He came back last week on September 3rd, the same time Gibson got lit up. Peralta did not look good against St. Louis last week, gave up 4 runs in just 2 innings. And keep in mind, right before he missed a couple weeks, he'd given up 3 runs in a 2-inning start against St. Louis as well. So I'm just not sold on Peralta. I think he's going to be a little shaky here tonight, but I definitely like the full game over 8. I do think Gibson bounces back, but I think it's still a pretty low total with 2 good offenses.
Yeah, Steve Merril, everybody. Steve, one of our listeners, Sir Herc, asks, will you be doing the segment on your most public sides of the week this football season?
Yeah, Prez, a lot of people have been asking, and I am excited. We will have the Fade the Public NFL video starting this weekend, week 1. I did a college football video last week, got about 4,000 views, did very well. What I did was I broke down the top 25 head-to-head matchups. We had 5 of them last week in week 1. I did that in college basketball in the spring. It was popular. So, yeah, each weekend we're going to have a Saturday video where I preview the top 25, the biggest national TV games in college football. I'll let you know my power ratings and which way I lean, matchup advantages. And then, of course, the most popular video is that Fade the Public. For those of you that are new to WagerTalk TV, I started it at the end of November last year. The most public plays each week in the NFL, fading them went 31-7 through the Super Bowl.
Wow.
We'll be doing it every week this year. We'll see how it does in September. Might not be quite as strong at the beginning of the season, but we're going to give it a shot here for week 1.
Well, that's unbelievable, man. 31-7. Can I just have those plays to sell?
Don't you jinx me. Don't you bring that bad karma to me.
Georgia Southern playing Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic -7, a total of 48.5. Well, Georgia Southern won last game, 30-25 against Weber, and Florida Atlantic lost to Florida, 14-35. How are we betting this game?
Yeah, I purposely took a really ugly game for you, Prez. If Army Georgia State wasn't ugly enough last week, I figured we'd get even uglier this week with Georgia Southern, Florida Atlantic. Similar to the game we talked about last week, though, we had another triple option team. You know, last week I said, hey, Georgia State had all month to prepare for the option, for Army's triple option. They had returned a very young team, one of the most veteran teams in college football, and they got blown out. It didn't matter. Army looked really good, by the way. That's a team I definitely made some quick adjustments to in my power rankings. But now we have a Georgia Southern team that also plays the triple option. They run the ball 80% of the time, and they're at Florida Atlantic. And here's the difference. Florida Atlantic now played last week. They only have 6 days to prepare for the triple option attack. And then on top of that, they're coming off a totally different style of opponent last week, and that makes it even more difficult. Last week, Florida Atlantic got blown out by the Florida Gators. They actually covered. They lost by 21. They were a 23-point dog. But here's the problem. They gave up 400 rushing yards on 46 carries to the Gators. That's 8.5 yards per carry. So they gave up 400 rushing yards last week. Now they face a triple option Georgia Southern team that ran for 365 yards on 65 rush attempts last week. Yet Florida Atlantic is a 7-point favorite. No way I'm laying it here. I think this is a live dog, and I like the matchup with that triple option against a bad run defense.
So my number on the game came a little bit shorter as well. Came 5.5. The markets are sitting here right at 7, pretty much across the board. And I'm curious as to what you think the markets are seeing here. You know, where it's been, I mean, the money's come for the favorite in this ballgame. And certainly, I mean, FAU, it was a misleading cover against Florida. They certainly weren't competitive in that game at a real level. But at the same time, they weren't blown off the field by the Gators, which may be a positive sign moving forward. Give your take on why this point spread is where it is and why we see money for the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it 7 across the board, Teddy, and I think a lot of books open 7, but it does look like there's a little bit of money leaning towards the favorite. So I do think a 7.5, as you're saying, is more likely to maybe appear than a 6.5, for example. Um, hey, look, first of all, Georgia Southern did win last week, but we have to point out it was not an impressive win on their point either. I mean, this is a team that won 30-25, as Prez said, but they were a 4-touchdown favorite in that game against a very mediocre Gardner-Webb team. So yes, Georgia Southern won 30-25, but they were a 28-point favorite in that game. So that might be part of it. For me, this is more of a pure matchup play. I do think power rankings in general probably have Florida Atlantic. In a lot of these sports books, they have them as a 7-point or more favorite. But as you know, it's not always about power ratings. It's about matchups. In fact, college basketball and college football, I think matchups are critical. You don't get it quite as much in the pro sports because everyone's an all-star or a college all-star rather. But here it's just a matchup play for me, and I really think you have to disregard the power rankings. Florida Atlantic does return 20 starters from last year's team. They were 5-4 last year. So I think the odds makers just have them ranked higher, and they probably are a much better team overall. Just not sure they can prepare for that triple option in 6 days.
Steve, let's turn our attention to the NFL. Obviously, week 1 starts on Thursday, Dallas versus Tampa Bay. We're going to talk Bears and Rams. Rams minus 7.5, 46.5 is the total. A ton expected from LA this year, especially after their big quarterback trade. Bears, I don't know what to make of this team at all. I mean, Andy Dalton has come out and said he's going to be a monster this year. It's going to be the Andy Dalton year. I don't buy it personally. I go up and down the Chicago offense and I can't find any playmakers. With that said, I can't bet the Rams minus 7.5 here either. How are you attacking this game?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people probably forget Chicago made the playoffs last year. They lost 21-9 to the Saints as an 11-point dog. They were 8-8 going into that game. They finished 8-9. You don't feel like the Bears were really a good team, but they still were technically a playoff team last year. I do think the sports books, Dave Sharp had mentioned this yesterday with Teddy and me, that, the sports books will probably need the Bears and the under on Sunday night. This is the Sunday night primetime game. Of course, it's the most heavily bet football game of the week. And we have seen this line go from 7 to 7.5 now with LA early money. And I doubt it'll come back down for that reason. As I said, the public will probably be on the Rams. It's looking fairly public, actually. I don't know if this will make my video or not, but it's definitely a little bit of a public play right now. So that 7.5 scares me. I do think the Rams win this game most likely. I mentioned this in a video we did on WagerTalk TV yesterday with Jimmy Adams and Drew Martin. I think this is a good teaser play. We don't talk a lot about teasers here on the show, but of course, taking the Rams from 7.5 down to 1.5 covers those key margins. The 2 most important numbers in football, 3 and 7, 4 and 6 are also very important. 5 is a little more live than it used to be due to the 2-point conversion now. So I like the Rams as a teaser play. For those that are new to betting this year, I know we have a lot of them watching the show this week probably. 2-team 6-point teaser means you get to move the line 6 points. And before you say, this sounds too damn good to be true, where there is a catch, you got to win a second play. It's basically a 2-team parlay. But I do think the Rams are a good one leg of that parlay here, that teaser, that is 7.5 down to 1.5. Just really a mathematical play here with the Rams on a 6-point teaser.
Yeah, certainly when you're looking for teaser candidates in the NFL, 3 of them stand out because basic teaser strategy talks about your favorites of more than a touchdown, teasing them down below a field goal. So you get the best of the number. You get all the key numbers working in your favor, 7, 6, 3, and 4. The Bucks are going to take a lot of teaser money this week. The 49ers are going to take a lot of teaser money this week. And the LA Rams are going to take a lot of teaser money this week. Any other teasers that stand out to you or teams for teasers stand out to you? Those 3 are the ones that stand out to me, Steve Merril.
Yeah, and of course, Tampa Bay, Teddy, as you know, is the Thursday night game tomorrow, so that'll be a huge high-profile game as well. So both the Sunday and the Thursday night games are probably the 2 most bet football games of the week, are both good teaser candidates. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out for the books. One thing I'll point out about teasers, you also like lower-scoring games because obviously less points means those margins matter more, and that Ram total is on the fairly low side at 46.5. The Buck total, for example, is 51.5. And then you just kind of quickly look over the board here. Colts are sitting 3, but there are some 2.5s out there. So, that kind of barely qualifies. That's really the only one that jumped out to me, Teddy. College football, you and I talked about this a few weeks ago. You got to be careful with college football teasers. One of the reasons is the lines aren't quite as accurate, first of all. And second of all, once again, totals are much higher. When it's a 70-point total, those extra 6 points aren't quite as valuable. So I'd be cautious teasing college football. You could tie that up with a college game, but in general, you want to stick to the NFL when doing 6-point teasers.
So I'm going to make this very clear. All right. I've been in Vegas for this is my 24th football season in Las Vegas. The number of pro bettors that I've seen betting college teasers, 0. All right. They all bet NFL teasers. But winning long-term bettors do not bet college football teasers basically ever. The only time I see it happen is, as you guys were talking about, in the lowest total games. When you see a college game totaled in the 30s or low 40s, sometimes you see some sharp teaser action on that particular game. But you never see sharp money on teasers with totals in the 60s or 70s. You're paying too much. And really, even in the upper 50s, you're paying too much for points that aren't worth as much.
Yeah, well said, Teddy. And another perfect example of why this show is so freaking awesome. Steve, I put Buffalo in there. I mean, I know we're not crossing 7 with Buffalo, but, I expect the Buffalo game to be a low-scoring game, even though the number is 50, and I'll take them down to a half a point. So, I mean, I would add Buffalo right in that mix with the Rams and Tampa Bay. Any thoughts there real quick?
Yeah, real quick on that. It's interesting because you're getting them in a straight up win situation, and the difference between 6.5 and 7.5. Just look at the money line, though. They're minus 290. Tampa Bay minus 420 at minus 8. Yeah. The Rams minus 370. So it shows what a difference that 7.5 versus 6.5. You're almost talking about 80 cents more to win straight up on the money line. And 7 is a real key number. In fact, teams that win outright normally cover at 7 or less like 83% of the time. If you pick the straight up winner when the line's 7 or less, the spread normally only matters like 17% of the time. These lines, real quickly though, guys, it is week 1. Tread lightly, everybody. This will be the most random week of the season other than the new week 18, which used to be week 17. And for that reason, you could make an argument teasers aren't quite as strong this week also because the lines probably aren't as sharp as they'll be a month or two from now.
Sure. My take on teasing a 6.5 point favorite down to a half-point favorite is that is a negative expectation bet. I would never make that bet. The math isn't right on it. So you might like it, Prez, but the math is wrong on teasing 6.5 point favorites down to a half. It's worth much more when you tease a 7.5 point favorite down to 1.5. So that's not a bet that I would use.
Yeah, and real quick,
Steve,
Teddy, Prez, if you like Buffalo, obviously, if you like them in minus 6.5, yeah, it's okay for the teaser. But the point is, mathematically, you're better off playing them minus 6.5 and not have to win that second play long term. That's what Teddy means by the math. It's not about liking the team. If you like a team, play them straight as a single game. It's more about the numbers.
Yeah, great point. Steve, Survivor, I'm in the Circa Survivor contest, and I really would like to win it. It's probably like a few $1 million. Certainly would be helpful. Anything? I'm struggling in week 1, man. Like I'm looking at week 1 and I'm going like, do I really want to take Carolina? I don't want to take San Fran. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, do you maybe use Jacksonville this week as a road favorite, right, Teddy? They're a favorite on the road. You're not going to have any other chances to use them this year. I'll tell you what, though, I love that setup with the Circa. When we had Benson on earlier this year, Jeff Benson, they have that bonus where if you pick Kansas City or Tampa in the last week, you get the extra bonus. Tampa is the biggest favorite this week, yet there's a reason not to take them with that bonus. Of course, if you don't make it to week 20 or 18 or whatever, it doesn't matter. So a lot of game theory this week. Do you take Tampa, who's mathematically the most likely winner this week, or do you save them? The Rams would be the second biggest favorite. It's a tough call, Prez. Week 1 is dangerous. We're going to see more results this week that do not correlate to the rest of the season than any other week. And I love Survivors for that reason. Did you do just one entry?
No, I have a couple, and it's likely going to be the Rams in Carolina. I don't know. I mean, I'm staying away from Tampa. Plus, we really need to keep. I mean, even with the Rams, right? I mean, if you can get Carolina through, it's not like you're going to be looking to bet on take Carolina into Survivor any other time. So, the key, and I'll tell everybody this playing Survivor, the key to Survivor obviously is getting through every week, but you're not going to win this contest in week 1, nor in week 10. You've got to organize the entire season from start to finish. And if you don't have the good teams left towards the end of the year, you might as well lose in week one. So
what about 49ers at Detroit?
I'll be talking about that game on the NFL Presidential Address. I mean, a fascinating game. I got to see what the 49ers look like this year. Obviously, I think they're a good team, but we don't know exactly how they're going to come out of the gate. And, same with Detroit, man. A lot of changes over there, just more like stay back, watch, let it happen. Anyway, Steve Merril joining us, guys, and Steve's promotion, unbelievable. A regular price, $1,200, $499 for you guys for the rest of his 2021 season. That's all sports, every bet, all the way through to December 31st, $499. Steve, is there a promo code with that?
No, this is about as simple and probably the best promotion I've had in the past year since I've been on WagerTalk.com. No promo code needed. You go to my page right now, you will see the strike-through price, as you said, is normally $1,200. It's just $499. That's just $4 a day for the rest of the year, the next 4 months. Every college and pro football, baseball, and college and pro basketball when it starts for the next 4 months, just $499. Now is the time to start taking that serious long-term investment approach. And the cost of entry, the cost of investment's never been lower. Just $4 a day. Rest of 2021, $499. No promo code right now. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, one of our listeners suggests taking the Texans in week one. I'd like to play Survivor against you, sir. However much money you'd like. Steve Merril, thank you so much for joining us. Adam Trigger coming up. Teddy's big game breakdown. My daily presidential address. Stay with us, everyone. Hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel. We'll be right back in 15 seconds.
Why pay regular price when you can save money on every purchase with WagerBucks at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo? WagerBucks are now eligible for use on not just daily, 3-day, and 7-day passes, but all long-term and seasonal packages up to 1 full year. There are tons of options available for every budget and size of bettor. From as low as $90 gets $100, all the way up to $3,500 gets you $5,000. Save every day on every pick you buy with WagerBucks.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk about Saturday's early start college football ESPN matchup. Pitt traveling to Tennessee, and we see the Pitt Panthers now 3.5-point road favorites. Total sitting at 57. All the early money has come for Pitt, and I can understand why. Look, there have been plenty of new eras in Knoxville since Phil Fulmer retired and the Vols stopped competing for national titles. The last decade, we've seen the Derek Dooley era and the Butch Jones era and the Jeremy Pruitt era, and they all ended the same way. Coach fired, failure. Now it's Josh Heupel's turn. And this program has fallen a long way from where they were. A long way. All right. And Heupel's going to put things together, maybe not his first season on the job. 11 projected starters transferred out in the offseason following the coaching change. All right. They played Bowling Green last week. They had no pass rush against Bowling Green. Bowling Green was the team with the open receivers downfield. All right. Joe Milton, we watched him fail repeatedly at Michigan. One of the guys that has put Harbaugh on the hot seat. And there was nothing there. They tried hard to pass the ball effectively against a bottom-tier MAC defense. They couldn't do it. The running game was hit or miss. Finally, Bowling Green wore down after halftime. Remember, this is a Tennessee offense that ranks 111th in the country in scoring over the last 3 years. And they didn't look good week one. Now, Pitt faced a week one weakling as well. But unlike Tennessee, they dominated from start to finish. Pitt, a senior quarterback in Kenny Pickett. They have 7 road victories with Pickett behind center over the last 3 years. They have a strong running game, a fundamentally sound defense, and I'll call it a grind-it-out, respond-to-adversity mentality. Paid real dividends for Narduzzi Packers in recent years. Yeah, I'll take my shot here with the road favorite. It's road chalk worth laying, and there's no bargain price here. Unfortunately, it was -3 earlier in the week. Now it's up to 3.5. This is not a best bet, but it's winning this game. They're the better of these two teams. Give me the Panthers. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Thanks, Teddy. Let's bring Adam Trigger in. Adam, nice to see you, man. Really, really late notice. Somehow Art DeCesar could not make the show today. Largely probably because week 1 of NFL is underway and he's swamped. But Adam, I think you had about an hour notice. Thank you so much for joining us on Wager Talk today.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I'm always ready. You ever need someone to come on, I'm ready at whenever. So you just let me know.
Good answer.
Okay, terrific stuff. Before we get into it, Teddy, I just need a second. I know you don't care about this, but I've been waiting to say this. Saturday night, Vivian, my girl's kid, comes down at midnight. We're watching the tennis. He's like, "Can you explain tennis to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, so this is how it works. If you win the first point, you get 15. If you win the second, you get 30. Then it goes up by 10, then by 5, then down by 5, up by 5, down by 5, up by 5, until somebody is a winner. Then that's one game. You need 6 to win a set. However, you have to win by 2. Therefore, you need 7 if the other person has 6. So it goes to a tie break. The tie break, you have to win by 2 as well to the number 7. So it could be 8-6. Could be 9-7, could be 7-2. Then that gives you a set. Then you need to take that set, turn it into 3 sets. Who the hell came up with this stupid scoring program? There's deuce involved, love involved. You have to break, you got to hold. Can't you just play to 40 and call it a day? Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way because, oh my God, it's idiotic. Chris Chapman, thank you for the tip, dude. Love you, man. Adam, how you been? You winning?
Yeah, I actually am. It's been good. I think I'm 11-5. My last 16 plays, I got out of college football week 1 relatively even. Want to say I went 2-1, hit my 5% play on UCLA. But overall, it's been great. Going off the top of my head, it's at least 10-5 or 11-5 run right now. So yeah, can't complain. Anytime you're in the plus is good. So looking forward to this weekend. Had a big NFL season last year, 47-31 in the NFL. So really excited for NFL coming up this weekend.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk NFL in a second. Just real quick, Christopher says, how do I join the Survivor Pool? I'm in the Circa Survivor Pool. Just head down to the Circa. It's $1,000. I am in a few smaller Survivor Pools, but the Circa is the only one that matters. Adam, Michigan -6.5 versus Washington. There are 7s out there as well. Outstanding performance by Michigan. Washington lost last week. It's 13-7. Michigan a throttling 47-14. Where are you going here?
Well, yeah, I did see 7s with Washington. If I had to pick a side in this game, I would probably take the 7 because I think that's drifted at this point to the point where that's some pretty nice value on the Washington side. But what I'm interested here in is the total. And it is coming down. So if you want to get in on this, I would probably do it now. I like it at under 49. I think there's probably a couple 49s left. But, Prez, you said Washington lost last week, but I think we need to give that a little bit more attention. They lost to FCS Montana last week, 13-7. That is a ugly loss for the 20th ranked team in the country, which is definitely no longer a ranked team. But I think there's a little overreaction, which is why I like the 7. If I had to take the side, the reason I like the total going under here is in that game, the Washington defense really wasn't that bad. I mean, they held Montana to 230 yards, which is, I think, what you would expect. And I think they're going to be able to hold Michigan in check here. I know Michigan kind of ran it up last week against Western Michigan. They were getting 8 yards a carry in that game. That certainly isn't going to happen against Washington. And now Ronnie Bell is done for the year. I think Michigan's still going to try to run the ball. That's probably their best path to victory. But I do see longer drives. And I think the Washington defense, despite having a really ugly result last week, losing to Montana, They held them to 13 points. I still think this Washington defense is pretty good. 49 seems high here. I would play it under. I mean, it's a low total for college. It seems high to me with what I would make the number, but that's a low total for college, and I think it's low for a reason. I like this one to tuck in under the 49 points.
Sure. And for what it's worth, a big part of the issue for Washington last week was cluster injuries at wide receiver. I'm seeing some reports that Washington's going to be without their top 4 receivers this week.
Yeah.
I'm seeing other reports that are saying that some of these guys may be healthy enough to play. Does your assessment of the game change dramatically based on the health and availability of Washington starting wideouts? Or is this one of these spots where you like the under either way?
So, Teddy, I like the under either way. I think it's a bonus if Washington ends up without those guys. I kind of look at it that they're going to at least have a couple of them playing. But, even though Montana is a solid FCS school, I mean, this is still a pretty big step up from what they played last week. So I think it would be offset. And they couldn't move the ball last week against Montana. So I think it'll be offset by the fact Michigan just being, even if you don't think Michigan's a great defensive team, they're still a Big Ten defense. It's still better than what they saw last week with Montana. I think Washington's better than what they showed last week. I don't think Michigan is quite as good as they showed against a really weak Western Michigan team. So if those two meet somewhere in the middle, I think we get a pretty competitive, low-scoring game. And either way, regardless of who plays, I think this one's going to stay under. I'll call it somewhere in the low 20s. Low 20s for each team, maybe 24-17, something like that.
Adam Trigger, everyone. Adam, you can find him at WagerTalk.com. Adam, let's look at the Chargers versus Washington. I mean, there's a pick 'em. There's -1 for the Chargers. There's even a -1 still for Washington. 44.5. There's a 45 out there as well on the total. Really curious about this game. Should be really interesting to watch. What are you doing?
Yeah, so this one I feel much stronger about this Washington here. I love Washington in this spot. This is a 4% play for me, but I'm going to give it out here.
Nice. Thank you.
One of my 4% plays for the weekend. I'm very high on the football team. A little annoyed that we've got to call on the football team for a second straight year in a row, but you know what? I really like this team. I loved them down the stretch last year. I think they finished third maybe in DVOA last year, which is a very accurate metric to measure an NFL defense. And they probably improved that defense in the offseason. But, the offense got better too. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick is probably not going to, make many Pro Bowls, or he's not going to be on many top QB lists, but they were getting it going with Taylor Heineke at quarterback toward the end of the season last year. So Fitzpatrick is going to be an upgrade at that position, especially in an offense where they're not going to be relied on to score a ton of points. It's going to be more sort of managing field position and making sure that, it's going to be Washington's going to win the games with their defense. But I like the addition of Samuel to the offense. I think the receivers are able to stretch the field a little bit more, and they have a pretty good running game, which I think they can get a push on their offensive line here. This is also a fade of the Chargers for me. I'm not nearly as high on this Chargers team as what seems to be the masses. Justin Herbert's a great talent, but this is year number 2. He lost Hunter Henry, and the LA defense has gotten far worse, in my opinion. You got 2 big names, Joey Bosa and Derwin James, who are absolute studs individually at their positions. But overall, I'm not very impressed with this defense. They lost Melvin Ingram. They lost Perriman. And the linebacking core is weak. I think unless they're teeing off on a quarterback with their pass rush, which I don't think they're going to do here, I think the Chargers are going to give up plenty of points. Anyone's an upgrade from Anthony Lynn, but they still have a rookie coach. I like Ron Rivera a lot. He's a veteran. He always has done more with less throughout his entire career. I think he's going to have this team playing well. I like Washington to win the NFC East, and I really like them to win this Week 1 matchup with the Chargers.
So the fundamentals of this game are fascinating because it's a Washington football team that, in theory, is supposed to be blowing up the line of scrimmage against LA. their defensive front, their front seven is strong. They're going to put pressure on the line of scrimmage. The Chargers remade their offensive line in the offseason, yet every single report that I read was, wow, this line is better. I can't believe how Slater's protecting the blind side. This team's going to come out of the gate and look very different in terms of protection schemes than they did a year ago. We didn't see any of that in August because they sat their starters in August. Are you concerned at all about the Chargers' upgrades on the offensive line, neutralizing Washington's best defensive strength?
So it's definitely something I gave quite a bit of thought to before I, released this as a 4% play. I'm just so high on this defense. I was ahead of the curve on them last year, and I think their defense, they drafted well this past offseason. So I really think their defense only got better. So I'm willing to take the chance here with Washington's defense. If Herbert comes out and torches me here and the Chargers score a bunch of points and I lose on that, so be it. But I actually think Washington's going to be able to score. I don't think the Chargers are very good defensively. And you still have a West Coast team coming to the East Coast for a 1:00 kickoff, which historically does not bode well for the Pacific time zone teams. So just a lot going for Washington here, and a team that I really do like quite a bit heading into the season. Getting them at a pick getting them at a pick at home. I would have this probably -3 if I had to make a number on it. So it's enough for me. I'm going to take my chances with Washington on Sunday.
Great handicap, Adam Trigger. Adam, what do you have to promote?
Yeah, so right now, I think I have a coupon code that's Trigger50, which gets you 50% off of whatever's on my page. I'm not sure. I have to go see if that's still the case, but I don't know that I have any actual packages other than like all access for the year and stuff like that. But I have put plays up this weekend. I do have a 5% NFL play that goes on Sunday, obviously. So that's up right now. I'll be adding a bunch of college for this weekend. And I actually I'll promote one thing. There's a KBO package. If you're into the Korean baseball, myself and Tokyo Brandon, you get us both for the rest of the season. So if you like waking up at 5 a.m. and betting Korean baseball, check us out because we're both winning right now in the KBO.
Speaking of 5 a.m, I wake up to this from Brandon. Brandon texts me, I just wanted to let you know I am 10-0 so far with my 5% plays. And then he had one in the KBO last night that was tied in the 7th, but I don't know if it won. Then he disappeared and probably went to bed. So it's like.
So Prez, I think he actually pushed the thing that they did. So they had a month off in the KBO for the Olympics. And when they came back out of that Olympic break, they're so far behind on the schedule this year with rainouts and having to delay the league for COVID. I think they had to cancel a full week of games for COVID, that there's no extra innings in the KBO this year. So they get to 9 innings. If it's tied, it's a tie, and they move on to the next day. So I'm pretty sure he had a nice little comeback because I think he had the KT Wiz. And I want to say they came back, tied it up. Game ended 5-5, so it's a no action for him today.
Right. Well, there you go. It was like a cliffhanger text.
Yeah.
Anyway, Adam, thanks for joining us, man. No notice whatsoever. You did an outstanding job. I can't wait to have you back. We'll see you likely next week. Now, guys, it's time for the daily presidential address. It's time for the daily presidential address. I'm Lawrence Presman, and if you guys are watching this on Twitter, you missed a hell of a show at WagerTalk TV, our YouTube channel. The show's called WagerTalk Today. Teddy and I, 12 to 1 Eastern every day. Today we had Steve Merril on and Adam Trigger. We talked college football and NFL and did sprinkle a little bit of baseball along the way. Make sure to check us out. As for, firstly, I have a 5% play up in NFL Week 1. It's up now at the website. You guys can get it for half price. use the promo code PREZ50. That's PREZ, or like the rest of the world, Z50. That's Prez50. You get half price off of my 5% play. As well, you all have been following my baseball. Thank you so much, guys. Oh my God, it is such a privilege to make these picks for you guys. And we're winning every single day in baseball. I got one up for Wednesday night. As for your free picks, I got 4 for you guys, and I am betting all 4 of these plays. Let's start in the NFL. Carolina -5, 5.5. I am betting that play. They're playing the New York Jets. I like the Jays under tonight. Really missed it on the Jays the last 4 games. I took them on Friday and was really planning on coming back to them Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but I didn't. But now I like the under. I like the San Fran Giants tonight. I gave that play out on Monday's show at 1. And I like Kansas City and Baltimore over the total. So that's the Carolina Panthers, Jays under, San Fran Giants, Baltimore over. Teddy, it's a turkey sandwich with mayo, tomato, cucumber, and red onions. But before that, I'm doing the NFL presidential address. We're taping literally right after the show. You guys make sure to check that out. Brother, take us home.
That's going to wrap it for the Wednesday edition. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Please give us a like. Give us a follow if you like the show. Tell your friends. We are in growth mode right now. Again, we'll see you guys tomorrow, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Between now and then, enjoy the games and good luck.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.